Hello, thank you for watching my channel today. My name's Sarah and my channel is called Your Tree Shelf, and today I am filming August's book haul. It's been it's nearly 2 weeks since I've actually had a chance to film because life has been crazy busy, work's been really busy, home has been really busy, and so I've fallen a little bit behind. As you can see, I have had time for a new haircut, which I am pleased with, and it's a nice change. It was getting a bit long and raggedy, so it's nice to have a little bit of a change. So my book haul, I've got all the books I've hauled in a carrier bag down here. It's got a lucky dip with whatever comes out first. The first one is this one here, Also Human, The Inner Lives of Doctors by Caroline Elton. So if you are new to my channel, you probably won't know that I am a GP in the NHS, and hence the appeal of this book. And I don't know if this is something people care about, if they have no connections to doctors or they're not doctors themselves, but obviously I have a vested interest in the inner lives of doctors. This book I've started reading it now, about halfway through. It's a book about the fact that doctors are actually people too, and that we also have our own difficulties with the work, and we have our own lives, and we have our own times when we're patients as well. And it's about how we cope or don't cope. It's about how we have to choose our career path, and how many people are happy with that or not happy with that. So there's lots of different elements to this book, and it's really interesting. The lady who's written it is a psychologist who's been working with doctors for 20 years, and she also does careers guidance, so she's very well versed in the issues facing doctors. So that's that one. The second book I have hauled is a library one, and that is The Miseducation of Cameron Post. So I have heard about this one from Lauren and the Books, and she's read this one recently, which is where I heard of it from. I've also just seen in our local cinema it's about to come out at the cinema, which I didn't realise there was a film adaptation, so I want to read it before that. This is an LGBTQ plus story about a girl called Cameron Post who she said she has been caught kissing a girl, and she is forced to move in with her Aunt Ruth, who is basically trying to convince her that she's not gay, and she can be fixed and she can be normal, obviously the probable horrific experience that is for Cameron Post. That will be a really interesting read. The next one I have is called Rough Music by Patrick Gale. Patrick Gale, I have read two, I think, of his previous books, and I've got 3 more to read, and I absolutely loved his previous books. So A Place Called Winter was one of my favourite all-time ever books, so I'm looking forward to this. And I was telling my colleague at work how much I enjoy his writing, and he has given me this one, which is his. So I have actually not read the back, but it says it's basically a family story covering 3 generations, starting with a strange childhood and ending in tragedy. Set in Cornwall, some glamorous American relations arrive, and events spiral out of control. So that sounds interesting. So I then went on, I just fancied getting some new books. So I'm just going to have a little sip of tea. 1 minute. I fancied getting some new books when I was in town yesterday, and I thought, well, I'll go into a second-hand bookshop because I'll get much more for my money. And I have been having a bit of a tricky time recently, so I really just wanted some good stories to lose myself in. I have been reading loads of non-fiction lately, and I'm really missing actually having some fiction. So I literally picked up anything that I liked, either the title of or knew of the author, read the back, and if it sounded remotely good, I put it in my bag, and that was that. So this is my charity book haul from Oxfam yesterday. So the first one is called Meet Me Under the Clock by Annie Murray. And years and years and years ago, when I was a junior doctor, my dad chose me a book by Annie Murray called Chocolate Girls. about girls who worked in a Cadbury's factory, and my dad's never chosen me a book before, I don't think, so I have sentimental value to me. He probably doesn't even remember when he watches this. And I really enjoyed that. It was kind of like just a family saga, and it was just really nice story. And so when I saw another book by her, I thought that I'd pick it up and give it a try. So this is set in Birmingham about two sisters who are very different, and it talks about, it's set in the Second World War. One of them joins the RAF and finds freedom, and the other one is pining for her fiance who is in the war. And then they make a new friend who, it says, seems innocent but has a dark secret. The next one is The Cellist of Sarajevo by Stephen Galloway. This is a Richard and Judy book club book, which I have heard of, and this one is from 2008, so it's 10 years old. So it says, snipers in the hills overlook the shattered streets of Sarajevo. Knowing the next bullet could strike at any moment, the ordinary men and women below strive to go about their daily lives as best they can. Keenan faces the agonising dilemma of crossing the city to get water for his family. Dragon, in the grip of fear, does not know who among his friends he can trust. And Arrow, a young woman enlisted into the forces defending the city as a counter-sniper, finds herself pushed to her limits of body and soul, fear and humanity. So I've never read anything set in this part of the world before, and that sounds like it could be a little bit sad and hard going in places, but I'm sure it'll be worthwhile as an experience. So next is The Gathering by Anne Enright, and I recently read my first Anne Enright, which was The Green Road, and really loved it. So when I saw another by Anne Enright, I just grabbed it off the shelf. So this one says, the 9 surviving children of the Hegarty clan gather in Dublin for the wake of their wayward brother Liam. It wasn't the drink that killed him, although that certainly helped. It was what happened to him as a boy in his grandmother's house in the winter of 1968. Ooh, so that one sounds intriguing. I hadn't actually even read the back in the shop. I just put it straight in my bag. not as in I stole it. I put it straight in my bag of things I was going to go and pay for. So yeah, I'm looking forward to giving that one a try. This one, a little bit of a wild card. A Week in Winter by Maeve Binchy. So I listened to on audio tape a book, my mum will remember this, called The Lilac Bus by Maeve Binchy, which would have been in the 90s when I was at primary school. And so I can't really remember anything about it. I think me and my mum liked it at the time. And I haven't read anything by her since. So I just picked this up for old time's sake, I guess. So it says, the Sheedy sisters had lived in Stonehouse for as long as anyone could remember, set high on the cliffs on the west coast of Ireland, overlooking the windswept Atlantic Ocean. It was falling into disrepair until one woman with a past she needed to forget breathed new life into the place. Now a hotel with a big warm kitchen and log fires, it provides a welcome few can resist. And then it goes on to tell a bit about some of the guests that stay there. But that kind of sounds like the place that would be really lovely to go and have some, chill out time in and everything. So that was a bit of a must when I read the back of that one. So this is the next one, The House at Riverton by Kate Morton. Never heard of Kate Morton, haven't read any of her books. This is set in 2 periods of time. So summer of 1924, when there's a socialite party at the house and there's a young poet who takes his own life. There are 2 sisters who are witnesses, and then it says after that night they'll never speak to each other again. And it's also set in the winter of 1999, when a lady called Grace is 98. She used to be a housemaid at Riverton, and she's approached by a director who's making a film about the poet who committed suicide, and she's asked to revisit the past, and it says there's a shocking secret that she's never told anyone. So that sounds like a nice book, and it's quite nice having one that flips back and forward in time periods as well. Okay, so I have 2 more from Oxfam. One of them is this one, so it's Close Range, Brokeback Mountain and Other Stories by Annie Proulx. So we've all heard of Brokeback Mountain. I saw the film, absolutely loved it whenever it was out in the cinema. And I haven't read any short story collections for absolutely ages. The last one I think I read was Tessa Hadley's collection. after I saw her at the UEA Literary Festival. I've just bought Jen Campbell's The Beginning of the World in the Middle of the Night, but I haven't read that one as yet. So this will be about time that I picked up another collection of short stories. So I just bought it on the basis that I love Brokeback Mountain, and so I can't see why I wouldn't love the collection. Haven't read anything by her, so it would be nice if I discover a new author in the process. And then final one from Oxfam, so it was a good day. I got all of these for £11 in total, so it was very good. Is the Night Watch by Sarah Waters. So I've heard people whose reading taste appeals to me, like Simon Savage and Lauren and the Books, talking about Sarah Waters and Mercedes, and they all speak very highly of her. I've never read anything by her before. I know Simon's doing the Big Book Weekender with The Little Stranger, I think, by Sarah Waters. But I found this one in the charity shop and I thought that I would have to buy it because I've heard so much good things about it. So this is set in wartime Britain again. It says it's following the story of 4 Londoners, one who is wandering the streets, one who has a secret, one who is a glamour girl, and one who is struggling with demons of his own. So yeah, just because I have heard so much great stuff about her, I decided to pick this one up. And then finally, my last one, which I've given back to the library now, so I can't hold it up, is Educated by Tara Westover, which I'm sure everybody who watches BookTube has heard of. It is the remarkable memoir of Tara, who is a girl who grew up in a very religious, conservative Mormon family who's preparing for the end of the world, and who hasn't been to school, and who lives a very, very different life as a child in the States. And she ends up, which is at the beginning of the book, so I'm not spoiling anything, she ends up going to get a PhD at Cambridge, and it's the amazing story of how she gets from having this childhood in rural Idaho to coming to Cambridge and getting a PhD. And I will talk about it in my wrap up, but it was absolutely brilliant. I absolutely loved it, and I'll talk about it fully in my wrap up, but that one gets a massive thumbs up, and if anyone here hasn't read it, they definitely should have. So that was my collection of books from the month of August so far. I thought that was quite enough for me to do a haul at this point in August. And if you've read any of the books, let me know what you thought, and hopefully that might have encouraged you to pick up some of the ones I talked about. Okay, hope you're all having a lovely week. Bye!